In this video, I'm going to be sharing all of my best prop bets for Super Bowl 56. Ready, set, bet.
Let's get ready to gamble!
Hey guys, welcome back and thanks for tuning in. I am Sports Dave, one of the ambassadors of the BettorOff community. Now, Super Bowl is the game that gets more action than any other in the world. Last year's Bucks and Chiefs Super Bowl was actually a down year, and it drew over $136 million of action. And that was just illegally tracked money. That doesn't even account for all the underground books, friendly wagers, Super Bowl squares, and any other variation of gambling that people come up with.
I bet you $20 I can get you gambling before the end of the day.
No way.
I'll give you 3-1 odds.
No.
5-1.
No.
10-1.
You're out.
Rest assured, odds makers will have their pencils sharpened to such a fine point, it's not going to be easy to find an edge, if you're only looking at the spreads and totals. So let's take a look at some prop bets that can fatten the old bankroll and help us end this season on a winning note. Plus, these can be a hell of a lot more entertaining than betting on the actual game. The game could turn into a laugher, but there's nothing like a prop bet to keep you engaged all the way to the very end. So before we dive in, please show your support for transparent sports betting, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tap that bell if you'd like to get notified about future content. Now we're going to start with a prime suspect to help us cash in this Super Bowl Sunday, starting with Bengals wide receiver Jamar Chase. This season's Rookie of the Year and just an electric player. He had 81 receptions and 1,455 yards on the season. The Bengals have a deep arsenal of weapons. Between Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Joe Mixon, it's just a shame that they only have one ball to go around. But Joe Burrow's favorite target throughout the season has been Jamar. And it's totally understandable. These guys have been linking up since college. Jamar Chase is a unique talent that can make guys miss in the open space, and he can beat you deep. But I think that the Rams are going to be giving a lot of extra help from their safeties to prevent any big plays from happening. Some sportsbooks are offering an over-under on his total yards at 78.5, but the prop bet that I like on Jamar Chase is for his receptions to go over 5.5. I just think that if the Bengals want to give themselves the best chance to win, they got to make sure that they get the ball in this guy's hands. Whether it's a deep route or a short route, getting the ball to number one should be a priority. Also of note is that since the playoffs started, Chase has actually averaged nearly 7 receptions a game. Best line I found was at Caesars at -125. I gave it a 3 on my confidence rating. Next up, Cooper Kupp, coming in off of arguably the greatest season by a wide receiver. And, for the record, I'd still take Megatron's best year, but I digress. I know I'm splitting hairs when a guy had almost 2,000 receiving yards in a season. The Rams also, they have an excellent arsenal of weapons on offense, but their success has come more from a steady diet of getting Cooper Kupp the ball. He had 145 receptions in the regular season. This guy will certainly get his touches in this game. They set the over-under on his receptions at 8.5. But I would rather bet on Kupp's total amount of receiving yards. The lowest total I found was BetMGM. They have it at 102.5, and I took the over. Cincinnati's pass defense was 26th in the league in yards allowed this season. Cooper Kupp has done much worse than 103 yards to much stronger defenses. I rated this one a 2 out of 5 though. Next under the microscope, let's look at Joe Mixon, who I think could be an X factor in this game. This guy was a dual threat beast throughout the season, rushing for over 1,200 yards and tacked on another 314 receiving. This guy can move like a scat back, but has the size of someone that can hurt a DB, or even make some linebackers pay. Now, I think the Rams are going to do a decent job of defending between the tackles. If Mixon has a big day, I would not be surprised. However, I think where he's going to have his biggest impact is as a receiver. The Rams have Aaron Donald and Von Miller firing all cylinders right now, so Burrow's going to need to throw to his checkdown man, and that's Mixon. Plus, I've seen the Bengals work a few screens in, throw out into the flats to get Mixon one-on-one against smaller defenders. So my bet is to take over 25.5 receiving yards for Joe Mixon. He could easily get that in one reception. Best line I could find was from Caesars. I got it at a standard dime line. Now, I wanted to share a prop bet on one of the Rams running backs, but I don't want to force it because they have a running back by committee and that can make outcomes a bit unreliable. So let's talk about OBJ, who I think will be an X factor for the Rams. Since he's made his way out west, Odell has had a steady climb in production, specifically during the playoffs. He's averaging over 6 receptions and has 78 yards per game during the playoffs. Now, between the Bengals having a suspect secondary and having to account for Cooper Kupp, I think it's fair to say that either one or both of those guys are going to get over their total yardage for this game. The lowest total I could find was on Fanduel at 61.5. I think the over is a solid bet, but as far as my confidence on this one, I would rate it a 2, same as Cooper Kupp. Next up, we're going to start looking at the quarterback position, starting with Cool Joe Burrow. Now, if I could bet on how much swag he gives his team, I would take the over all day. Unfortunately, odds makers have not yet figured out how to measure such a thing. Now, I had to start with some compliments about this guy, and this is sincere. I think Joe Burrow is going to go down as the greatest quarterback in Bengals franchise history. In fact, the entire AFC has many years of great quarterbacking to look forward to between Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, and of course Burrow. There are going to be some epic clashes for the next decade. However, back to my point. My best bet on Joe Burrow's prop bet is to take the over on his interceptions at 0.5. This is not a knock on Joe Burrow. The Bengals offensive line is one of their weakest units. Coincidentally, the Rams defensive line is one of their biggest strengths. When you have guys like Aaron Donald and Von Miller lined up in a three-point stance, you don't need to send extra guys to create the pass rush. And the Rams secondary is more than capable of snaring at least one interception. BetMGM was offering this prop bet at -128 when I got it. My confidence level, I give it a 4. This brings us to Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford. Sean McVay pulled out all the stops this season to put together a Super Bowl caliber team. The centerpiece to all of his biggest moves was undoubtedly swapping out Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford. Evidently, he thought that his team was one Matthew Stafford away from getting his team over the hump. And here we are, on the other side of that hump. Anyways, I've already mentioned a couple times that the Bengals secondary is not the strongest. Now, I really think that McVay is going to use a fair amount of trickery in this game. He's going to pull out all the stops, and this may take away from some of Stafford's potential yardage he could throw for. I expect the Rams to do a lot of east and west play calling, like reverses, end arounds, sweeps, and this is going to open up bigger gaps to run north and south, as well as some play action pass. Now, at the end of the day, I think it will be close, but I believe that Stafford, is going to edge over that yardage set by BetMGM at 279.5. The Rams' running game is decent, but the Bengals' running defense isn't terrible. It's almost a wash there. So, the significant advantage is the Rams when they throw the ball versus Cincinnati's secondary. My biggest concern is that Stafford, he throws a stray bullet every now and then, and so, my confidence in this one is a 2. Alright guys, those were all of my prop bets for the big game this Sunday. Agree or disagree, feel free to comment here on YouTube, or you can leave a comment about any of my picks on the BettorOff app. You can send a high five, or you can call me a turd if they lose, If you think you can do better though, BettorOff is a put up or shut up platform for sports bettors to show off your skills and conquer the rankings of the BettorOff community. Now, I will be back soon with the full breakdown of the big game on Friday, so stay tuned by subscribing and tapping the bell, and if you're still hanging around, remember to hit that like button. Until next time, best of luck banging on the books.